Yes, Spurs fans, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. We are going to be recapping, in my opinion, best performance of the season, question mark, maybe even exclamation point. Felt like it was. At least we saw attacking football. I think they pretty much dominated from minute 1 through minute 90. There was, I think, pressure going into this game to see a win because I think we needed 4 points as a bare minimum, really, with how far we've been slipping down the Premier League table. But I think this game was really kind of about achieving both, achieving, of course, 3 points, but then also seeing some nice football and seeing a good performance as well, considering at home, weirdly enough, we've seen probably some of the worst of Thomas Frank in
Yeah.
his football action at home, where probably all of the best performances have actually come away from home this season. Probably even more attacking performances, dare I say, even though it's a low bar, have probably come away from home more than they actually have come at home this season. So we'll be recapping it. I think some nice things to talk about. Funny enough, the one that I probably have been most incensed about is that Romero challenge. I think all the people that are Spurs fans claiming it to be a red card, I feel like the game is gone, if you ask me, because I used to absolutely love seeing challenges like those. And I'm not even too old, but Dave knows I'm probably in my Graham Souness era where I just feel
Mm.
like, if we're going to start calling these red cards, I just feel like I might as well just retire and stop watching football at this point because it's what gives me the joy. But yeah, Dave, I think just a nice game to recap, not too much drama from it. And I would give high marks to every player, including the manager, which is first time we've been saying that in a while when it comes to playing at home.
Yeah, look, I think it was our best game, and certainly since that Man City game anyway. So 20 odd games, I think it was our best performance. I think
Yeah.
it's gone a long way to sort of appeasing many Spurs fans in terms of, there was a big debate heading into the game. Do we not have, like, many people were maybe arguing that the quality of players is what was leading to the XG stat, and people like me then were maybe countering, saying no, it's the rigid system. So it would be interesting to see where people maybe land after that game on Brentford. Is it actually down to Thomas Frank's rigid system? And, is this style of football here to stay, or was it one that was maybe delivered only under pressure? Then there's also the Yves Bissouma latest incident to
Yeah. Yeah.
speak about today. Then we've also got Slavia Prague coming up tomorrow. Thomas Frank has said, he is going to rotate. So I'm interested to see people's opinions on Thomas Frank's rotation policy, because I have seen a lot of opinions post Brentford game maybe saying that they definitely want to stick with that front line and stuff like that. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit was could that Brentford game maybe be Thomas Frank's Pochettino's maybe Aston Villa moment? So maybe there's plenty of stuff to discuss tonight, and no Dooley, we'll discuss it. And then we'll crack on again tomorrow with another match day. They're coming in thick and fast, and I'm super excited.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just thick and fast, regular scheduled programming for a while now. Not too much craziness in terms of having to figure out how to fill up the week with Spurs content. We're just going to be at full blast, full go here. Let's bring some people in from the chat, and then we'll bring the panelists on, the guests that have supported us, that are the channel members. So really do appreciate them. Appreciate Ellie, who's gotten in here nice and early, showing a lot of love to us over the last few weeks, and of course over a long period of time, over many years as well. Big up to you, Ellie. Hopefully you're enjoying the start of your week. Hopefully you enjoyed your weekend. We played nice and early on Saturday, and to see Arsenal as well lose in the beginning of the day was a great start to it. So I think pretty much everybody should have had a great weekend. Big up to you, Ellie. William Webb is in the house. Big up David Jack and Spurs at home. To Villa in the FA Cup, Gooners and City draw, lower league teams, typical. Yeah, and I feel like just seeing that also Chelsea, right, are playing like Cardiff City, in the League Cup of the Carabao Cup. I just feel like so many of these other teams do seem to get a bit of an easier run. But then again, when we had Tamworth, I believe, in the FA Cup, we made that look maybe a bit, a bit more
Fairness,
sketchy than you would like. So I don't know how to look at it, William, but I do agree. It does seem like we tend to be given some difficult opposition, that's for sure. Shemtan, good to see you in the house. Hope all are well today. Great result performance, but now we need to keep going versus Prague
yeah.
and the Force. Exactly. I mean, great win over the weekend to give us that confidence to go into these games more confident than skeptical. But it's not like now all of a sudden, we should be saying, oh, just get a result type of thing. I think we want to see the good performances continue on versus Slavia Prague and versus a Forest as well. I think those are beatable teams, but also teams that I think we should be looking to see similar football to what we saw on Saturday against. I don't think that's too much to ask. Fantasy, good to see you as well. Spurs Insights TV, great name. Really appreciate your support as well. The one and only Wayne Bonner. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. Great showing on Saturday. Good to see us playing some attacking football. Tasty draw in the FA Cup with Villa at home. Come on, you Spurs. Definitely a tasty one. Big up to you, Wayno. Binny guy as well. Good stuff it was. I can see that Dr. Tottenham. It wasn't Frank this time. I've been following Spurs long enough. I don't fall into this BS easily with the club propaganda. Dropkick your teacher. Brentford was proof that it's Frank's fault. Dude, it's funny, artist. I saw a very interesting comment where someone said, after performance like that, surely the narrative around the squad being terrible, doesn't fly anymore because we saw an incredible performance from pretty much every player. I don't think anyone had a bad game. There was some nice free flowing attacking football, for the most part defensively solid as well. And as much as Brentford, they're kind of around the same level they were last season. So decent mid-table side, right? And one that has, I think Dave mentioned, gave Liverpool a good game, and Manchester United a good game this season. So it's not like they're Wolves, which of course at home. So I think that's a funny comment that someone made actually underneath one of our videos saying, well, surely this whole squad isn't good enough argument doesn't really fly ananymore, after a performance
Well,
like that. So
that's
isn't
what I
that
was
kind
saying heading in. That's what I was
of
said heading into the game, though, Jacko. Against Brentford, because people would argue that Johnson and Richarlison are a huge part of the problem, but yet they're two of the five club's top goal scorers. So it's sort of like, for me, when Mawani isn't in there, or Richarlison or Xavi Simons, then it's more a question of around him not getting the best out of it. And at the end of the day, we bought in them three to improve the situation. And when you play all three of them together, as proven at the weekend, the results,
Yeah.
the proof is in the pudding. So it was an argument that, although I sort of understood to a certain degree, it's not like we didn't go about in the summer transfer window, to try and fix the problem. And, with such low XG, a massive part of it for me was tactics. And when you're seeing similar trends carry over from his Brentford side to the Tottenham side, then the common denominator is Thomas Frank. Whereas you look at the weekend, the handbrake has been taken off. The midfielders were running forward, fullbacks overlapping the wingers, and we free flow moves. Once you take the handbrake off and you're not so rigid in your system and your instructions, you actually trust the talent you have on the pitch. I guess we can play this way, and I guess we do have some quality to be able to rip teams open. We scored. We went our way to PSG and put 3 by them. So, that narrative doesn't wash.
I think also, just to clarify too, I'm coming at it from like the comparisons I've heard where like people will say things like Brentford have a better team than us, Fulham have a better team than us. And then like after seeing a performance like that, that's what I'm talking about. Surely like this team is top 10, a decent, I think the squad is decent enough to be sort of ranking around the top 10. And I think we saw that just over the weekend for sure. Tyler saying no need to discuss Basuma. He's a moron. Yeah, I kind of agreed, to be honest, as much as I would probably like to go on a rant about him. Is kind of one of those players where I kind of know the outcome of this. Alan, Rakdos Madness, really appreciate you, Alan, saying work is crazy. Can't make the fan show, guys, but sending this to support this wonderful channel. Really appreciate that, Alan. That's very, very generous of you, man. I sent you finally, it took me way too long, but I sent you a follow-up text just wondering, I'm sorry that work is going crazy. Feel free to let me know why. And hopefully you get some days off over the holidays, at least 1 or 2. And I think even though Christmas is great, I do like, December kind of 26th, 27th, just kind of the couple of days after Christmas as well, or just for whatever reason, very relaxing, get to watch some football, get to just sort of wind down, from maybe all the Christmas stuff, enjoy whatever presents you might have been given, and just sort of sit back with family and just enjoy your time. So hopefully you still get some days off in and around the Christmas period, Alan. Really do appreciate you, my man.
Big up,
then we have Tom THFC. Big up to Tom. Ellie saying, don't revert to type. I want to see us go for it again. Yeah, exactly, Ellie. I think I'm in the same boat. I think we need to be seeing similar performance to what we saw on Saturday against Slavia Prague for sure. And then honestly, Forest as well, really. Like, I think Forest are good, but kind of like Brentford. Good team, but beatable at the same time, I would say. Big up to AK Shags. Very, very generous support. Really appreciate you guys. But let's start bringing in these people in here, Dave. Thank you to Alan for the very early support. If anybody wants to follow suit, feel free to do so, especially if you disagree with anyone on this. You're welcome to throw in your opinions in the chat with the super chat, or just a question in general in the live chat. And then if you do want to become a fan show member and join this action, feel free to do so. It is pinned at the top of the chat. But let's start bringing in the people here. Enough blabbering from me with Mia, Ryan, Corey, and the one and only Eddie. Good to see a good return from our man, Eddie. Eddie, I'm going to go to you first, considering maybe you don't have too much time or it could be crazy o'clock for you. Spurs look sharper and more aggressive versus Brentford. We registered 16 shots on goal. I can't even believe we actually got that many. Was this result of a tactical shift by Frank, or players finally stepping up maybe under the pressure?
Definitely a tactical tweak. You've seen how Frank set up with the players and what they were doing and what they were asked to do. definitely a tactical tweak, because you saw in the past against these sort of teams that were around those level, we would sit back and respect them a bit too much. And Frank has definitely, whether this is him learning from it or it's a
Yeah.
one-off, because he wants to show up his old club, and so he's moved on from them. Time will tell. We'll see what happens in the future. But I'm happy. I love attacking football. It was great. Great, so great thing to watch. And when I saw our fullbacks inverting and like actually going out with it, which is what a lot of us have been calling out for. It was a great sight to see, and it was good to see a lot of the players like Xavi Simons absolutely thriving. This is what he needs. He needs a sort of attacking system to actually do well. And seeing this is, it's great. I hope he does it for the next match and the match to come, because this is how you should play at Tottenham. This is the Spurs way.
I think it was a good point you made by comparing it to teams like Wolves and others that maybe we faced at home this season, where it didn't feel like we saw that attacking endeavor and maybe didn't see those tactical tweaks. I think that's a good example to bring up there. Ed Meister, Mia, tactical genius move to switch things up by Thomas Frank, or is it just the players, finally deciding to step it up?
I think it's probably a bit of both, Jack. I think that Thomas Frank knew he had to do something, and I think he said he'd been working with them a bit more with the attacking, and I think the players knew they had to step up at home because of the way the fans were reacting. So I think it was like a bit of a team effort with it. I think that Thomas Frank did say to them, right, we need to go past the halfway line, and it's okay, boys, you can do that. You're not going to get a nosebleed. And then I think that the players did step up, because I think they knew at home, another loss at home, and it was going to get severely toxic. And I don't think the players wanted that either for the fans. I think they wanted to show them what they're about, and that they've definitely got that about them, and they have. And we saw it, and we've seen it in dribs and drabs other times, but not as much as this. This was fantastic from the get-go. Like from the get-go, it was like we were hungry to win. We wanted to prove a point, and I want to see that every time. I want him to stick with the same players as much as possible and the same formation going forward, so we can get a bit of consistency. And I think that will really help as well with the relationships on the pitch. And playing Xavi was he was really good, and I think he's got so much more to him, but he hasn't had the opportunity perhaps to show it. So I'm hoping that's more to come with him as well, because I thought he was really good. And so was Kudos, apart from that one mistake that I thought Romero was going to go and rip his head off for. I think that he was really, really good, Kudos. I thought he was at his best as well. So it just shows you when all our team put an effort in, it can be done. So it can be done. And I think that the manager has to make sure that they get that in their head every single time, that they can go forward and they can attack. So, yeah, I think that was much, much improved.
Okay. Ryan, what do you think? Players stepping up or Thomas Frank tactical shift? A bit of both?
Look, I'm just going to put it down to this, right? And it's going to be one thing and one thing only. The players, thank God, they've actually started to work on things in training, because if they hadn't, they would have got my manager the sack. So I'm glad, and that's all I've got to say. Simple.
So Thomas Frank did nothing. It was just the players.
Yeah, it was always been the players.
But didn't you just say it was?
That means, so you're saying you're not even to give Thomas Frank any credit to give them, to get this out of them, because that means then it's just on the players, right?
He's been trying to do because he's been trying to do this all the time, but then he knows he can't do it all the time because the players aren't good enough at doing it. So it's the players who had to step up, in my opinion.
Hold on, whoa! How can you say the players aren't good enough, but then you can say that they can be good enough? Because that's obviously not true. And you just said that when they won, they were training to do it. So obviously, who trains them? He trains them. So obviously, he did do something. But you don't want to do that, because then you're going to have to criticise your darling Thomas Frank. Come on, man.
If the players can pick and choose when to be good, what's the point of having a manager?
See, I don't think it's the players picking and choosing when to be good. For me, when I look at the game,
I know what you're trying to say to me, and I'm not biting. I'm sorry, I'm not biting because sorry, Dave, but like they're trying to make me bite and say a certain person's name so that I can.
No,
so then
that's
I can
not what we're
prove you
talking
right.
about.
I don't think that's happening.
Look, what I would say is, I think, for me, when you look at it, there was clear tactical instructions that have changed from previous games where he sent them to be aggressive and go after them. How many chances in the second half did we get off Mwani, especially Jed Spence down that side, chasing the ball and, being aggressive in terms of going at them rather than sitting deep like we have done in a lot of previous games? That completely changed. That's something we done at the start of the season that he stopped doing. I think bringing in Xavi Simons actually opened up the attack. It opened it up for the likes of Mwani and the likes of Kudus because we weren't heavily reliant just on one player. With having that number 10, he brings other players in the forward line together. And I think as well, the way we, the midfielders, Rodrigo Bentancur, you look at that game, it's completely night and day compared to previous games we've seen. And for me, that's because I think the shackles were taken off him. He was allowed to go and affect the game. He was allowed to run forward with the ball. Same with Archie Gree to a large extent. When have we seen Paulinho or Bentancur being allowed to sort of get up there that far before? And I do think that's, tactical, and that is instructions. Jed Spence, a lot of times when he's played left back, he sort of just moved the ball inside. But yet this game, he was clearly told, get on the ball, get on the overlap, and get on the offensive and take the game to Brentford. Now, my worry is how much of that was because there was pressure on the guy and how much of that is there to stay moving forward. But I've always said, we've done this at the start of the season. It worked well. We won games. Why did we stop doing it? But I also think there is an element to the players responding to being asked to do something fresh. This squad is more built to go after the ball and press it. This squad is more built to play in possession. And I think there's an element that the players responded to in the right manner to being asked, and that this is their favorite way of playing. And that's why we've seen the performance we've seen. But it massively stemmed from the manager changing what he has been asking them to do for the previous 20-odd games.
But Dave, right, you got to look at it, right, like this as well, right? Bentancur hasn't been good since he had his ACL injury. He's been so far off the pace. He has turned from being one of these
You don't
players
think he was good in the Europa League final? You don't think he was good leading up to it against Bodo Glimt and those sides? I think he was.
He's not putting in performances week in, week out where he like he needs to be doing that week in, week out, and he's not going to do that because of his ACL injury. And that
on that one though, Rhino, right? The biggest question I had around Bentancur has been, everyone says, oh, we want him to get forward. We want him to start passing forward, this, that, and the other. But, when he was under Conte, everyone was saying he can't do it. We need to get someone else to do it. But he can do it. Under Conte, he's demonstrated when given the license. Højbjerg was the holding midfielder. He was allowed to get forward, go and affect games. He's shown that he can do it. With Ange played him deeper in the pitch. Ange turned him into that sort of number 6. Frank has sort of employed him in a similar sort of role in beside Bentancur. That midfielder drops the deepest to get on the ball and move it forward. Whereas against Brentford, he was clearly asked to do a different role where he was sprinting forward, getting up with play and stuff like that. And, for me, that does come down to more tactical instructions because it's clear that the guy can't do it when he's allowed the freedom to go and do it.
But you can't say he's anywhere near as good as he was before his ACL injury, man. You're never the same after another ACL injury, man. You can't turn around and say, oh, yeah, but then he can do it. But then why is he not doing it every week? Then that's my question to you then, because of his ACL.
No, it's not, right. If you look at the tactics around what we employed against Brentford compared to previous games, it's night and day compared to, in this game, we went and pressed them aggressively high. In this game, we got bodies flooding forward and into the box. In previous games, I would say at least a run of 10 to 15 games, them instructions weren't there. That's not just down to players all of a sudden just going, and if it is down to players all of a sudden going, right, I'll turn it on today, then, I have even more question marks. But it's not. The way we went about this was completely different to the way we went about previous games, and that's not just solely on players.
The whole of last season, though, Dave. I said it was the players, and no one wants to even think that it might just be just the players that play when they want to play. And
but hold on,
come on.
I don't want to mention any names, but isn't that a bit of a hypocrisy because you just said it's the players last season, but that's not what you were saying. So.
Anyway, let's get Ryan's buddy Corey in. Let's hear what he has to say around there.
I may be his buddy on this in life and everything, but I'm disagreeing with him on some of this. I think Frank sat down in the last couple of weeks and really looked at match footage, sat down with the boys and started talking properly and coaching them in the right way. Feel like it's woken up, but now I feel like I want to be that Manchester United support. Like, I'm on day 500 when I need my team to win 5 in a row so I can get a haircut. I want to be that guy. I want my team to win 5 in a row in the league. Then, and you watch, it'll probably happen because the way Liverpool are playing, I feel like we'll get a result there now. But I think Frank sat down with his coaching team, sat down with the players. I'm like, boys, look, these are the basics. We need to sort this out. Come on, it's not just my job on the line here. I need you to play for yourselves with some pride. That's why I feel like Frank's got into him now. Sitting down and coaching players and watching match footage, going over why we were so bad in this match. And I feel like he's probably sat down and really analysed his performance now, Frank, and turn around and giving the players a boot up the arse. But what doesn't help now is the constant rotation, like one week to another. You don't know what midfield you're going to be playing with. That's what's hurt us. I've sat back on now and realised some of this stuff I've said probably does sound a bit stupid over the last few weeks. In different chats, I've sat there, I've defended my point so blindly that it's like, yeah, I think Frank's now sat down and decided I'm going to watch the match footage and actually see what the criticisms are from the fans and take this on board and try and move forward.
Just before we get in,
go ahead, Dave. Yeah.
Sorry, just before we get into maybe, what people maybe think of Thomas Frank's rotation policy, do we as a panel, as a collective, believe that that style and that intent is here to stay now moving forward? Now, obviously, I'm not naive to know we're not going to go into the Liverpool game like that or some of the other big teams, but for the majority of games, you would like to think this is the way Spurs fans want to see this team play. Do we believe that that's here to stay, or was it just one big game delivered, under pressure and still papering over the cracks?
I think it's a bit of both, really, isn't it? Sorry, Eddie.
No, I would like to think it's here to stay because we hear from Frank all the time in interviews going, I love playing attacking football. I love being on the front foot. We're always saying this. I love to see it staying because, like I said at the beginning, I love attacking football, and hopefully he does. Slavia Prague, no disrespect to them, ain't a great outfit, and we can definitely go after them compared to the other big clubs in England. So we should go out them and be attacking and be front foot. If we go to Slavia, I think it's at home, isn't it? If we play against Slavia Prague on the back foot and actually sit off them and give them too much respect, we could definitely draw that game. Like, I can see us drawing if we do go to Slavia Prague and just try to sit off them. We need to see front footing, especially against the lower teams, because they can't handle the quality that is in the squad. Don't get me wrong, the squad isn't good enough to compete on all fronts and win big trophies, but it's definitely good enough to get a lot of results. And I'm hoping that this is a turning point, like they've mentioned Pochettino's game against Villa, that this is going to be his turning point, Frank's turning point, and we'll see more attacking football going forward, and hopefully Slavia Prague is the next thing up.
Fair play. Fair points. Corey,
do you know where
you want to come in? Sorry.
Yeah, go on, Corey.
Oh no, I was trying to move something away from my feet. So
no, I was going to say, do you know where I slightly worry is when he said today there's going to be rotation. And it's sort of like just after you stumbled across that forward line, it looked really promising, green shoots. It finally found you found what your best sort of forward line was, especially because he came into Brentford game beforehand saying he didn't know what his best 11 was. It just sort of worries me that is he going to learn his lesson and maybe give this a run of 4 or 5 games to really sort of get up and run and show consistency, which is what I argued he should have showed at the very start of the season. I've always argued against the over-rotation and stuff like that, and that's where I worry. Is he going to learn his lesson? But only time will tell.
See, look, I'm just going to keep saying this. I really don't care.
No, you're not. Answer the question, right? Answer the question. Is this blueprint here to stay?
Well, you also said, right, like, is it going to be here to stay? But then I'm going to turn around and say to you before I answer the question is, right, I don't give a damn about the style of play this year.
Fair, you have been consistent on that.
I give him that. Yes, even when we talk privately, I'm like,
Even when I was at Corey's earlier, Yeah, it kind of can still be classed as early because I haven't played and slept much. But look, right, I don't care about the style of play until the end of season 1. I do not give two flying monkeys what the style of play is, and if he wants to rotate, fine, let him rotate, let him do whatever. As long as we're still winning games, then I really couldn't give a damn. Right, I couldn't give a damn. Right?
Frank isn't, mate. Calm down a sec. He isn't the tinkerer. This isn't Leicester. Start formulating your bonds with your players now before we start slipping. I mean, to still be in touch of the top part of the table after bad results is a blessing on this team and the manager. We went to Newcastle and got a very good draw, playing appalling and the penalty that shouldn't have stood. And then we played really well this weekend. So we've taken 4 points from 6. We've got Slavia Prague, which their league isn't exactly within the top 30 leagues in Europe, but they aren't no mugs because they always seem to qualify for Europe. So I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, we're going to batter Slavia Prague 4-5 now. I think we'll take a 1, maybe 2-1 win tomorrow. It'd be nice to see Sonny tomorrow as well. Say finally get his farewell in front of the fans. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I'm going to have to watch it on TV, but I really would like to go to the stadium and see Sonny, but I can't travel. I've got Christmas presents to get for my boy.
His mural is set to be unveiled tomorrow as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be sick. I think the only reason the rotation and the style of football is brought up, even though Ryan doesn't seem to care at all about it, but the reason it's brought up is the results have been slipping in the last 10 or so games, and then you have to come up with reasons for why that is. Is it down to the rotation? Is it down to the style of play? Is it down to both, really? So that's the only reason it's brought up. It's not brought up because out of thin air or anything like that.
Can I also
give Xavi some leeway because of obviously he's come from another league. He's bounced around the leagues for the last few years, hasn't he? He hasn't really had a place to call home for more than 2 seasons. The kid's coming from Germany, a very solid league to get out of. And he's come to the Premier League, which is very physical. And he's starting to understand now where his pockets of space are going to be. It's taken him a couple of months to understand. And these players working around him are going to bring the best out of him now, I feel.
But the reason why I think that to answer your question as well there, Jack, why the style of play really matters is because when you actually look back at what we were praised for earlier on the season, the clean sheets, something that we couldn't do on the previous regime. Well, we were also pressing aggressively, and stuff like that. Once we stopped doing that press, we weren't keeping clean sheets and we were leaking goals at the other end and we couldn't score goals. So that's why the style of play under Thomas Frank does matter. Like even down to Xavi Simons, the stats, when you look at Xavi Simons starting with the team and not starting with the team, ironically, we actually concede less when he starts compared to when he doesn't start. And we also score more and win more and stuff. So I do think when you look at the squad of players that we've got, the style of play actually does matter because it's what brings about results. The way we played against Brentford, we played Man City the exact same way, played Burnley the exact same way at the start of the season and stuff like that. And we were keeping clean sheets and we were scoring goals. All of a sudden that dropped because Frank changed the style of play. So to your point, Ryan, I know you don't agree, that style of play doesn't really matter to you, but I'd argue it as a direct matter towards results.
Can I just say, right? The thing is like you can't say that rotation isn't at the detriment of the team, and I feel like that does affect results. So he shouldn't keep tinkering because, like I said earlier, consistency is key. You have to have consistency. You have to build relationships, and the only way to do that is for these players to keep playing together, so they know where they are on the pitch. So Xavi knows where the pockets are, because he'll know where everybody's going to be, and he seems like a really nice guy. If you watch videos of him, he seems like a really humble, nice young man as well. And I really want it to work out for him. And I feel like that this could be the start of something good if Thomas Frank keeps him in the team, because I think that is important. I feel he has to be in the team.
Yeah, you can't keep dropping the guy when he's on a vein of form. Otherwise, he's going to be thinking 1 week to the next, what do I have to do to stay in this team and cement it? 60 million quid, you should be cementing your place in that team, seeing as what we've got behind him isn't exactly too appealing on the eye to watch, is it?
Yeah.
Like I said, the guy understands starting to understand where these pockets of space are now, but he has to also understand this is a more physical league than Germany. He's not always going to get that time. So it's going to come in time for him. It's going to take him more time to adapt to the Premier League, because I think most Dutch players, when they come to the Premier League, don't realise how strong of a league it is compared to Holland, Germany. Germany is a strong league, but compared to physicality to German teams to English teams, it's night and day.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe we'll switch gears and we can come back to this conversation if it ends up doing that. But just to spice things up a little bit, and curious what people have to say in the chat about this. This is what I've been kind of debating people over the weekend a lot. I think Dave has been seeing it in the members group chat when it comes to it, is Romero's tackle. A lot of people, including Spurs fans.
Hold on, is this not my number one subject? Romero's tackle.
Yeah, we'll go to the resident expert and then we'll go to Eddie afterwards.
Trust a woman to look at the tackle.
I've been defending his honor. I've been saying that it was a clean challenge. Could be called as a foul in the modern game. I thought calling it a yellow card actually was incredibly harsh in my opinion, because I felt like he won the ball first. And when you're sliding into someone, you are going to have momentum. You are going to take them out with you. That's part of just the nature of that type of challenge. And then there are other Spurs fans who completely think I'm crazy and that, the game is now pretty much made it. So that's an automatic red card. I mean, what do you make of it, Mia? Was that a red card or is that a fair challenge from Romero?
I mean, I think if it was red, it would be harsh. I think that he was a bit reckless in what he was doing, but I think that his reputation precedes him. And I feel like people always are ready to jump on Romero for any little thing that he does. And they're like, oh my God, he should have got a red. Oh my God, he was so reckless. And I feel like that's what it is with people with Romero. I feel like they always want to have a reason to say that he's reckless and that he should have got a red, because then they can add that to his tally of, look, he got this amount of red cards. See, he isn't very good. Joe, like I feel like some of it is a little bit of an agenda. I'm not saying all, but I do feel like some of it is an agenda. And I think that, like you, Jack, it was a bit, like I say, I think it was quite slippery and wet. And you've got to consider, like you say, momentum. In another day, another referee. Look at what happened when we got a penalty against us. That was definitely not a penalty, because Burns so flipping huge and Benton caused tiny in comparison. Like on another day, we could have been unlucky because of his obviously reputation. And I do think that referees are sometimes quite quick to judge because of who he is. So in a way, we were sort of lucky. But do I think it was a red? Nah, I feel like he got enough of the ball and momentum sort of took him. And I know he had it was a bit of a scissor one, but it was quite slippery out there, because at that point I think it had been raining for quite a while, so maybe it was a bit silly. But a red, no, not for me. It was a bit silly, but not a red.
You also have to look at the styles of around the world. So the South American players are taught to tackle hard and get their bodies in there, and they're pretty robust. Argentinian players are very strong in their defending. I can account for that, because I've seen many of Argentinian defenders take out players and not get nothing, especially in the Spanish league. A lot of that seems to be going around at the moment, especially towards Real Madrid when they're playing against ex-Argentina players. And even down to like Bentancur at Uruguay, their defenders and their midfielders are a hard lot to break down, and they want to get their bodies in and tackle. So I reckon it all goes down to the style of player and where they're trained and where they were brought up, because in the last 15, 20 years, tackling's become a lost art to some of these players now, and it's getting a bit boring.
I agree. Eddie, do you have any opinions on the Romero challenge? I mean, a lot of people in the chat think I'm delusional for thinking, it's debate. In my opinion, it's debatably even a foul, really. But other people have, even during the watch along, they were saying, "Nah, Jack, you're being crazy. That's a straight red."
I haven't watched back the tackle, but when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, that's a clean tackle, got the ball. And then I watched the whole replay. I was like, I can see how they gave a foul, but he got the ball first, and he got some of the man after. That's not even a card. It's a foul, sure, but not a card at all. I don't think a card was very, very harsh for a red. I think that's a bit crazy, honestly. And people go, "Oh, the modern game." Well, the modern game is bad. Okay, don't.
Yeah.
We're always complaining about how the VAR and the refs are always giving out these harsh tackles. I'm sorry, that's just another example of why the modern game sucks. compared to
Could you
the
imagine some of these?
old game.
Can you imagine
Yeah,
some of these
go on, Cole.
attackers nowadays playing against like Rio Ferdinand, Yap Stam,
Yeah.
Maldini? They would get
Ramos,
wiped out
Pepe.
game in, game out. Ramos, and then we wouldn't
Yeah.
get nothing. Nowadays, it seems like you get touch, take, or tumble like Neymar does halfway down the pitch, and someone gets booked.
Well, I used
Yeah,
to watch
it-
football. I used to watch Football Italia. Now that was
Oh, yeah.
mad. That was some mad football when you see how they used to tackle, man. That was crazy. On a
80s and 90s
To be honest.
Italian football.
To be
Yeah.
honest, I think we should get a screenshot of it and hang it in the Louvre. To be honest with you, I think it's a beautiful sight. I think I'd much rather a player like Romero, who's aggressive and actually wants to go and compete for the ball. That's what a defender's job is. Than watching Dyer, Davies, and Sanchez in years gone by backing off and allowing them to shoot and stuff like that. I also think that bit of bite and aggression is something that we lack at Tottenham in general, and I think he's one of the only players that provide it. When you actually go and look at the channel or the challenge, I've just looked at it there again. Was there a bit of maybe force behind it? Yeah, of course. But at the end of the day, wrap one foot around them, dislodge the ball, and then wrap the other foot around them. You know, the follow through, it's a slide tackle, it's a forward momentum. You're always going to end up following through on the player to a certain
With tackles
degree.
like that, they look at the height of the tackle as well, don't they? Are the studs showing? Is he showing? It goes down to so many criteria now for the red card. Does it happen? Does it do this? Height of foot, intent of tackle, all this the old-fashioned ways of just tackling the ball, man. Just let them tackle.
Like, the thing is, you know, and I argued this when he got sent off against Chelsea for clearing the ball and then following through. You're kicking, the player's right in front of you. Where do you expect them to? You know what I mean? It's like, I think honestly, with the introduction of VAR and everything being slowed down, I think a lot of tackles now and everything looks worse than what it actually is. Anyone that's played the game and stuff like that, when you receive tackles like that, they're not as they don't hurt as much as some of these players make out. You got to remember, there's a lot of players now diving and looking for VAR to try and get involved and pick up red cards and stuff like that. And I think it's encouraged to make tackles maybe look worse than what they are and stuff like that. And for me, I actually think, you know, a defender's job at the end of the day is to go and compete and win balls, and that's exactly what Romero does. You know, people like, for instance, you look at all of his yellow cards this year. How many of them have actually for being going and talking to the referee about decisions that haven't gone our way, and they book him? It's his job as a captain. And I just think it's getting to the point where, you know, because some people love Romero, some people hate Romero. As soon as Romero does anything remotely like that, they pick up on it to maybe further their point about Romero, you know, not being this great leader and this good player. And, you know, because a lot of people have been butthurt in years ago, but he was always available for Argentina and never Tottenham. I mean, it's a made up nonsense narrative in the first place. And for me, I actually think we should be praising a player like Romero, because I speak for myself only, but when he came in, I nearly dropped to my knees and started crying and praying to the Lord, going, thank you. We haven't lost all sense of reality. There are still players left in the game that love the art of defending, you know, and it was a breath of fresh air when he came in. And I think the fact that we had such lackluster defenders before him actually makes him look a lot worse than what he actually is. Because if you're comparing him to what we've seen before that for years, it makes him look a lot worse than what he actually is. And for me, there's a reason why, if he was to ever leave Tottenham, he's only ever going to clubs that are better than Tottenham Hotspur. Because clubs like Real Madrid and stuff, like Spurs fans moan about his aggression. I never heard Real Madrid fans moan about Pepe's or Ramos's. In fact, they loved it. They embraced it and stuff like that.
Great
you know,
defenders have that.
At the end of the day, it's an elite game. It's a competitive sport. They're competitors. It's what you got to go and do. I think it's madness.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, though, Dave. I said the exact same thing, exactly what I just said now. People already got that preconceived idea of Romero, so they're always going to jump on him for everything. Like the amount of times I've seen tackles go in or like a 50-50 for a ball, like a player will go for a ball that's really theirs, and then the other player put their foot up and they get penalised. You're like, where are they supposed to put their foot? They were going for the ball first. Like, what do you expect the player's leg to do? I don't understand with body parts what they expect. It's so many times when Romero slid.
Everyone looks at Gabriel. Everyone looks at Gabriel in Arsenal, says he's the best defender in the Premier League. No one sits there and bemoans his aggression or anything like that, and he's probably more aggressive than Romero.
He's not dissimilar at all to Romero. They're practically the same player in the manner in which they play, but for some reason one has that reputation and the other one doesn't. I also if you're not able to make challenges like Romero has there, I question, people's motivation to even want to become a defender. Like, why would you even want to be a defender if you can't put in challenges like that anymore?
Yeah, I mean,
it's
some of this stuff that gets me now with the modern game, like my key irk at the moment is when players are jumping up in the air and they have to use this to elevation. They catch a player and they get a free kick. Like 20 years ago, that never really got given. And now, like every little time someone jumps up, it's like it's a free kick. Like, what's the point of jumping up for a header nowadays? Because the referee's going to pull it aside for a free kick. It's getting some of these newer rules that are really starting to dilute the actual intent of the game.
Do you know what else I love about Romero? I like his aggression as well about other stuff. When he celebrates, like if he does a good like clearance and stuff, he goes absolutely mental. Or like when someone scores, he like bashes them on the head. Like he's just a bit of a crazy one, isn't he? He's just a bit of a passionate guy. Yeah, I love it. Obviously, I love him for other reasons as well. But
I've got another theory like as well to this. I think since giving the captaincy, it's brought out something different in Romero as well. Whereas when he was just like a bit part player, the vice captain, he really didn't want to do much. But then last season, when we all love Sonny, but Sonny isn't a captain. He's too quiet in that sense. He doesn't want to really get in the referee's face. He just wants to get on with football. But you want your captain to go up and question referees like, what's that for? Why didn't you give us this? Why didn't you give that? Like, that's what you want in your captain, questioning. And they brought in that new rule that only the captains can talk to the referees in the last season or two, didn't they? So.
But the thing is as well, when you look at Romero, like for me, if you try and tame that guy, you don't get that performance we got in the Champions League final from him. You know what I mean? And, like for instance, like me and Jack were at the West Ham game years ago. He took Mikel Antonio out, one challenge. The guy went and stood on the other centre back for the rest of the game. Didn't want to know down Romero's side. Newcastle St. Maximum a couple of years ago took him out, came off the pitch. That's their threat dealt with. For me, there's so much more benefits in the
when he did it to Haaland in the City game, mates, Haaland was absolutely like he did not want to go near Romero after that. He's like, I'm here, mate, even though you're big, I can take you down. I love it.
I think we actually get more benefits from it. We get more benefits from it than what we actually do in terms of punishments for it. And for me, I don't see the problem. I really don't. I just think it's like we need to find something to give out about because everything else was perfect against Brentford. So we have to find something.
Yeah. He reminds me of like Tony Adams, the guy would always put in a challenge, or Roy Keane, or Patrick Vieira, someone that would just go and destroy the ball and then pick up either a card or just get on with the game. He reminds me of that old-fashioned centre-back that will just put his body in there. I see centre-backs now, like him and Mickey van der Ven are two of the outstanding players this season in the league. Compare that to some of the other defenders in the league as well. I mean, Arsenal are missing 50% of their defence now, but Saliba and Gabriel are pretty decent. But seeing like 2 weeks ago with Van der Ven making that tackle in the box, all they had to do was pull that a second late. That's a red card. Time that to perfection. Romero's tackle the other day was timed, but the momentum, training leg, blah, blah, blah.
I think that's the other crazy thing is, you go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
No, just quickly, Jack, and I'll let you away with it then. If people actually go back and look at one of Van der Ven's goal-saving tackles, he also done a scissor motion on Igor. No one's brought that up or talking about that. Everyone was sitting there, Romero, Van der Ven, he saved us. A very similar tackle to what Romero had done. But sorry, Jack, go on.
Good point. No, I was only going to add one little minor point to it, and that, I've also heard the argument when people say, oh, it's rash, what if he misses that challenge, then it's like, he's could really hurt the player, or it's like an automatic red. And it's like, yeah, and that's the point. That's the skill in the challenge that he's done there. Yes. He has timed it perfectly. He has actually won the ball first very cleanly, and then has at the same time laid into the player to be able to send that message and to be able to put that fear factor into them, knowing that, listen, I'm not afraid to put in challenges like that on you if you want to try to drop deep and receive the ball. He's done everything perfectly there. There are center backs that just aren't good enough to make that challenge, or aren't brave enough to make that sort of challenge. And that's the other part
me of
that
Ramos.
I've gotten upset about. Is like, why are we now taking away the courage and the bravery away from players that are skilled enough to make a challenge like that? If some players know they're not good enough to make it, some players are good enough to make that challenge.
But do you know what else, Jacko? For years, we moaned about our players not doing that. For years, we said all of our players, they don't go for the challenge. They duck out of a challenge. They don't go for it. And now we've got one that does do that. Now people are complaining. Like, I don't really know what people want.
Now, Mia. I'll say we got two.
We've got two. Van der Ven, he's offers something. He does do those tackles, but obviously it's the fact that he's quick. Like he's quick, and also Romero's very good on the ball. I think people also overlook that he's actually very good on the ball, and he's a very good passer of the ball as well. So I think that people really overlook that a lot with Romero.
Yeah,
I think,
just to add, I think everyone needs to put their thinking cap back on for a bit and just think, when was the last time Romero actually got a straight red or a red that he deserved? This, not including that Chelsea game 2 years ago. Like, since he's been given leadership roles at the club, he hasn't gotten a red, a serious red, since he's gotten the leadership roles, and he's actually improved and, like Dave said, stepped up since becoming a captain or vice captain, and actually changed a bit. He isn't as rash in the tackles. He isn't doing stupid things to get himself a red. He'll pick up a occasional yellow every now and then. That's just what the type of player he is. He's an aggressive player, an aggressive defender. He'll pick up yellows every now and then, but he isn't getting stupid reds to cost us games. And the fact that this is even being considered that should be a red, I'm sorry, I don't see how that's a red. He got the ball first.
Walk nonsense, said he?
Yeah.
It's walk nonsense. Walk nonsense, like Sean Dyche was saying. It's just utter nonsense, and obviously I just don't know how they can criticize one of our best defenders and our captain at the same time. Be a bit biased, guys. Come on now.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is I agree with that, Eddie. It's like sometimes people have been a bit like, you're kind of like, are you even a Spurs fan? Like sort of asking, like, when you see a challenge like that, you're just sort of like, come on, like, give us the benefit of the doubt, give your own player the benefit of the doubt. With that one, why are we complaining 2 days later that should be given as a red card in a must-win game for Spurs? I'm just sort of like, I mean, come on, at least have a little bit of bias, towards your own team.
What I'm going to say about our centre-back pairing, what I'll say about our centre-back pairing, I'll say it's very yin and yang as well. Like, both of them have strengths and weaknesses, Van der Ven and Romero, that both of them compensate for each other. And that's what both of them are excelling at this season. And towards last season when we won the Cup, this season it seems to excel now. They're very yin and yang. They know where one is and the other needs to be. It's a joy to watch them two actually working like that. Whereas last season, they were bickering and arguing between each other, the players, you could see it. And especially last season in Europe, when you had Maddison and Sonny on the bench, I'm not going to say the expletives, but it was like, what the hell are we doing here kind of thing. There was other words said, but what they were saying. But like, it's nice to see these two actually have an understanding at centre-back, because we haven't had that really since Ledley, King and Dawson.
Toby and Jan?
Toby and Jan, I was going to get there as well, but I mean, like, we haven't had that since then, really, have we? We've had Dyer, we've had insert crap defender here, dogging us and holding us back for years on end. It's just been such a joy to watch them too.
I agree.
I said I think they're probably the best partnership in world football on their day, but I got ridiculed for it. But fans will come way around to my way of thinking by the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh, no, don't you probably have Angus in here saying, no, mate, it's Saliba and Gabriel. And,
Yeah.
I got ridiculed by my Arsenal fans for saying, I'll take Mickey over Gabriel any day. And I was like, nah, man. I was like, mate, Mickey, take him.
Let's move on to maybe Xavi Simons, who, of course, in my opinion, was man of the match, really. I think he stole the show against Brentford, of course, had an assist and a goal. After being benched for 4 games, does this performance maybe prove to Thomas Frank and to the rest of us that he has to be given a run of games? And let's just say, if he does get dropped for this game against Slavia Prague, would that be a mistake by Thomas Frank?
I think so. I mean, what led up to his goal is his mistake before the tackle that he put in to run up the field and score. He reminded me in that moment of Dembele. If he'd ever give up the ball, he would go back and win it straight away and run up pitch with it. I was like, oh, that's very Dembele-esque. I was sitting there watching it like on Match of the Day, because obviously Ryan was down this weekend, so we was out with my son and we didn't watch the match live. I got home and watched everything on Match of the Day, then I watched like clip hits of it online, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, man, that was very Dembele-esque. He gave up the ball and then won it straight back, ran 50 yards down the pitch and slammed it in the net. I was just like, oh, that's what this guy offers. That's what he was doing in Germany. That's what he was doing when he was in France. This kid if he makes a mistake, he'll try to correct it if he can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyone else want to come in on that? Yeah, go on, Eddie.
yeah, he should start and he should play to give him confidence. Before that game, it wasn't even when he started or played, he didn't really perform or did well in those games. Whether that was the system Frank had him in and what he was being told to do. We'll see in the next game if he does play. Well, he should play and he should play that attacking role because we need more confidence in this kid. People ridiculed. I'm going to say his name, Whitaker Ainge last season when we dropped Spence for a doggy. When we dropped
51 minutes?
Spence for a doggy. What's that?
Only took 51 minutes. Fair play to Eddie.
Yeah, fair play. Dave wins the fiver.
It's
Yeah, he
normally
does
me
win the
that
final.
brings it up.
No, I'm just going to say it because really had arguments over this. People ridicule Ainge for over dropping Spence over a doggy. So I think same should be said for Frank. If he does drop Savvy hints, he should be ridiculed for dropping Savvy when Savvy needs to form and needs to keep up the play. And I'm hoping he does play and he does play a pivotal role in our. If he does play a pivotal role in our win, because we need a win in the Champions League. We haven't done well. We've dropped a lot of points in games we should be winning, and a win here will definitely solidify us within the top 8, I think, or close to the top 8, at least going through the group stage is what we want. And we definitely need a win here. And Savvy could be the key to
We've only
this.
lost
If we
one
see,
game in Europe, and that's the actual European champions. We are
yeah.
European champions elect because we won the Europa Cup, which is still a massive feat. But when you can win the Champions League and the the friendly European Cup in the middle of the start of the season, they proved it by winning both of those back to back, didn't they? So they have an intent to say they are the European champions. I mean, we gave it a good show on that European Cup game, man. I watched it. I was like, to only lose by 2 goals and put in an effort like that, I was like, okay, yeah. Especially when Kolo shows up and bangs in a beautiful goal off the volley into the top bins. I was like, oh yeah, I could see something coming from this. And then obviously with Xavi, I keep saying this as a lineup because Porro can't defend. We can all sit here and actually agree with that. And he's good at going forward. You put Porro where Kudus is, Kudus out on the left and Xavi in the middle. Then that way, until we get someone in for left wing in January or in the summer, play it like that. And then just let Porro ping balls in.
I actually think Moani looked good on the left wing the other night. And I know he didn't score, but he had a chance. It was well saved by Kelleher. But in general, I thought he kept hold of the ball well. He kept the attacks moving. He offered a threat. He linked up with others. And for me, I actually think he looked well on the left the other day. But I'll go back to the Copenhagen game, and this is why I think Xavi Simons is absolutely crucial. And the stats before the Brentford game that came out saying that we win more when he's in the team, score more, and concede less when he's in the team. And I think this is where, don't get me wrong, there has been an element of Xavi adapting to the Premier League. But in general, up until that game, he didn't start in the last 4 games. And, I think Frank has to realize, and I think that comes down to how Frank sees football. I don't think he knows how to use Xavi Simons. Now, we can sit here and say Simons wasn't his ideal signing. He wanted Gibbs White or he wanted Eze. But the matter is, we brought in a player of that ilk, of a decent enough quality for him to be able to sort of revolutionize the attack. And, that front 4 the other day, I think we allowed Richarlison just to sort of stick up front. All he had to do was get in on the end of moves. We didn't ask him to do anything in the build-up play. Moani was more than capable. Simons was key. He was playing balls out to Kudos. What I loved about Simons, it was one touch, kept it moving. How many times have we seen players in around the edge of the box, slow it right down, 2, 3 touches, move it 5 yards, move it backwards? Every time Xavi got the ball, it was in a forward motion. And another thing, how many times have we seen passes being played behind players when they're running forward? He played it in front of them, so he kept the attacks moving. And for me, our biggest problem, and my biggest problem was Thomas Frank, coming into this game, was the attack. Everyone was going, we don't have the quality players. Richarlison and Johnson, they're inside the club's top 5 goal scorers. So that sort of rules that argument out. And when you added into the fact that we've given him Kudos, a Moani, and a Simons, we need to see more from him. It's the way he set it up. And when he put that front 4 out there, it was one of the best performances we've seen this from an attacking intent, and I'd argue the best in terms of in possession. Against Man City, it was more we pressed them high in Burnley, whereas this one, we actually ripped them open time and time again from open play. And I think he now needs to realise that we don't have to play long ball. We actually can play out from the back into the midfield and run attacks through Xavi Simons. It's just about Thomas Frank actually trusting the guy now and giving him a run of games. If he starts taking him in and out, you're going to ruin the guy's confidence. You're never going to give him a chance to really build up a head of steam. You know, you're never really going to give him a chance to fit into the formation. And that's another thing where he hasn't helped Xavi. The amount of different formations we've seen, you know, this guy play, you know, 4-2-2-2 and stuff like that. I mean, you're never really giving Xavi Simons a chance to shine, or any of the attackers, when they're constantly being put in different positions. Some of them go and do something in the last game, all of a sudden they find themselves sitting on the bench. Thomas Frank will do the world of good now to realise that Xavi Simons is key to unlocking the important part to Tottenham fans, which is going forward and keeping the same players around him where possible. If he doesn't do that, he's just going to piss off Spurs fans again.
Yeah, the two main things, right? So can I
Yeah, go on, yeah.
The two main things is that what we need to do is play Xavi consistently, but also play to his strengths and play the best way to get the best out of him. Because there's no point of playing Xavi if you're going to just, like before, he was getting forward, looking around and person's there. Like, what's he to do? Like, he can't pass it to no one if nobody's on out of like our half. Like, what are we doing here? So it has to be playing the best formation to suit the strengths of the team that we've got, and we can't keep playing players out of position. Like Mawani on the left actually did look really good. I've got to admit, I quite like he's got good footwork as well, Dave, I would add as well, Mawani. But I think that's probably playing our best formation, our best team, and to the strengths of the team is just key for us to continue to play better football and to play games and win games, I think.
Yeah, I mean, well, but like the formation I said earlier on, I would have Kulu sitting in front of Xavi because those two could just bounce off of each other for days with their pace and their quickness. And then obviously with Kudus out on the left and putting Porro on the right, you'd have those two with the speed and the whip to be able to play balls in quicker.
But that's not his favourite, but that's not Kudus' position. Like, he doesn't really he prefers to play on the right. That's what I'm saying. We're playing all positions. Like, why play players out of positions?
He plays on the right with his left foot, but he's ambidextrous. He's brilliant with both
but
feet.
He prefers to be on that side. So what I'm trying to say is, why are we putting players in positions that we don't need to? We can
Also,
put
he's got the most assists. You don't need to move Kudus. He isn't a problem.
Yeah, let's not be moving him, man. It's just making more problems for ourselves. Like, I don't understand why we have to keep doing this. Let's put this player here. Why don't we just put Vakari out front at this point? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do get what Corey's saying. I do think Kudus is good enough to really play anywhere across that front line. I think he is good enough if you wanted to. But where I disagree with Corey is
he's great with both feet.
Yeah,
he's great with both feet.
Where I disagree with you is he does have the most assists. You know, for me, I don't think you need to move him from that position. I think you got to keep him there. I think we've now realised that Xavi Simons is crucial in the 10. And I'd argue with Mawani out on the left, because I think with having Mawani out on the left, we weren't as over-reliant on Kudus, which I think then caused Brentford a few problems, because a lot of times this year we've been reliant on Pedro Porro and Kudus creating a lot of our chances. Whereas in this game, we had a threat through the middle, we had a threat down the left-hand side. We weren't so over-reliant on Kudus, which I actually think we saw much better from Mo Kudus because of that as well. You know, because we had threats across the pitch, it meant they couldn't double up one side. They had to actually spread their back line out, and we just absolutely ripped it open. So for me, I think that four he put out is absolutely crucial to, you know, getting some consistency out of Tottenham going forward, because when we're going forward and we're scoring goals, we're not conceding anywhere near as much chances at the back end, which means we have a better chance of keeping clean sheets, which is proven this year. When you look at a lot of the games we won, we've played a certain style, aggressive out of possession, tried to be aggressive in possession. We concede a lot less. We keep clean sheets. We go and win games. Frank now has to realise this is the blueprint moving forward. And also, ironically, I don't hear any Spurs fans complaining after the Brentford game. I didn't see any Spurs fans boo any players. I didn't see any Spurs fans boo them off. So for me, I hope Frank realises he's appeased a lot of Spurs fans after this game, and try and do more of the same moving forward, and you will get people like me on board and give him time.
Should we take Jamal's here? Just saying, have
Yeah.
you guys seen the wonder goal by Vuskovic? Yeah, there's a great tweet from
Beauty.
Billy Dave saying, "What the hell have we signed? You know, it's like we've signed
Yeah.
the greatest center back potentially of all time."
Put him up front. Put him up front.
It was
Surprised
like a
Surprised me.
Zlatan goal, honestly.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes, spot
Zlatan.
on, Eddie. Surprised me let him out on loan, to be honest. Maybe a player you could look at recalling in January.
Yeah, no,
Because
but
he's
I don't
turned
think-
around and said,
he's progressed through every
I have-
league level. He's gone from like Polish league, which is probably pretty far down in terms of level, but he still did really well. Then he went to the Belgium league, which is definitely a lot better and a decent place to
Well, the
I think
Belgium
send
league
someone.
is
And then to go to the
9th in
Bundesliga
world football.
afterwards is a decent level as well. I think the Bundesliga is a decent one to send him to.
Yeah.
But at this stage, I mean, he's got to be slotted into the Premier League after this.
But like that's where I have admiration for the kid. He turned around and said, "I'm not at the level of VDV and Romero. I need to play football to get better." So I'm on board with him coming back when he feels ready to play for us, and that shows intent that he wants to play for us. He's only 18. The kid is incredible.
I don't know if he has got intent because hasn't his contract run out, and then he hasn't actually renewed a contract yet with us. So I don't actually know if he does want to play for us.
Oh, he'll be given
his contract only really started. I think his contract really only started
when he was 18
season or two ago. Yeah, so I think it's not like he's been with us really on the books that long.
The rules of under 18 players is clubs can sign these players when they're 16, but they have to stay with the parent club in that country until said age of 17 and a half-ish. Then they're allowed to move to the club that they're moving to. Then it's all down to them. But with underage players, it's a very sort of like rule intent thing.
Yeah, but I don't know if he wants to. But that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know if he wants to wants to come back to Spurs yet because he hasn't really made that clear, has he?
I just googled it there. It says his contract runs until 2030. So
yeah, plenty of time.
That's
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
They'll want to protect him even more. They'll give him another contract.
Romero in his 30s, Romero start to be slowing down, and then Fuska could come in and, be a young guy in his 20s with the hunger. Like these loans are
in the squad next year. He'll be in the squad next year.
Sure. Yeah, these loans are doing him a world of good. He's been the Belgium league is 9th in world football. The German league is 5th. So he's played in 2 of the top 10 leagues in the last 2 years, coming from it was Poland, wasn't it? Or was it Croatia? It was
he came from Croatia, then Poland, then Belgium, then Germany.
Because obviously he had to find a loan after being bought by Spurs to get his work permit sorted out in a higher league from the Croatian league. So Poland's ranked higher than the Croatian league. Then he can get his work permit in Belgium, because that's where most players seem to go nowadays to get their work permits. Like Brighton do it really well. They bring in players that can't get work permits. Half their team are out on loan in Belgium. Then they come back the season later and they're absolute ballers, and Brighton make a mint off of them.
Yeah. Look, I wouldn't even be settled on his final position being centre back. I'd argue I think there's enough for him to be able to play midfield. If you wanted to play a deep line midfielder there, I think he could definitely make that adjustment. But look, James, we've got one hell of a talent on our hands. This guy has scored in every league he's been at. He's been probably the best young player in each league as well, and his stock is only rising. The good thing is he's protected until 2030. I think we need to get Van Ven signed down, and then if we can get him signed down again to another extension, centre-back is a problem that I don't have to dream about going to bed at night, which is going to be absolutely brilliant, considering some of the shit shows and nightmares I've had to dream about, in years gone by. We've got this from Queen Ellie, says, back to old time, lads. Get yourselves some Ben & Jerry's. Do you know what, Ellie? I haven't had Ben & Jerry's in a long time, actually. I'm trying to be a bit more healthy with my old age and stuff like that, but I'm sure I can sneak in a cheeky tub right before Christmas. I wonder will they have any special flavors out. Remains to be seen. We'll wait and see, Eddie. But I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You can only buy one tub with that. How expensive Ben & Jerry's are.
Especially the price of inflation nowadays, you get just the tub.
I think we're probably pretty lucky over in the US. I think, every now and again you get a good deal, on the Ben & Jerry's. If you buy it in bulk, you can get like 3 or 4 for around $10 or $12. It's good time.
Jesus.
Well, let me tell you, I used to work. I used to work at a Ben and Jerry's scooping ice cream, so I got to try literally every single Ben and Jerry's flavour that was out there, man. It was so good. Being able to do that as a teenage me, eating all the Ben and Jerry's I can think of.
That one
Dang.
love one they done there a while ago was superb. I wouldn't mind if that was out again before Christmas.
What an
I
incredible
wonder
job.
if me disagreeing with Ryan, that's why he disappeared.
Nah, Ryan said he's sick. Anyway, he was saying he was tired before he came on. He hadn't slept much.
Sick
We've
from
got
eating
this-
too
Well,
much
he's
Ben
been
and
with me all
Jerry's over the
weekend,
weekend,
so-
Ellie. I think Ryan celebrated too hard. He had too many tubs of Ben and Jerry's after the Thomas Frank win. Maybe is what happened.
I think it's
Really
the Brighton
appreciate it,
sea
Ellie.
air that got to him. It's definitely the sea air that got to him when he come down to see me.
Maybe we send Brian a tub of Ben and Jerry's, cheer him up, give him a sugar boost.
Yeah.
We've got this from Lazy. It says, I think me is referring to the fact that there's been a lot of media talk about the fact that he's had no time at the club, therefore no loyalty, and the ultra elite may try to get Fiskovich to force a move. No, yeah, 100%. Look, there could be a case where Fiskovich might not see a pathway for him at Tottenham or might force a move himself. That could be the case. However, the fact that he's under contract till 2030, I think the power's in our hands. And to be honest with you, Nick, I think he will be in the squad next season. I think that'll appease him and be the next step on his journey for the time being, anyway. And we've got this from Jerome. Good evening, Jerome. Good to see you. It says, evening, lads. Had to take my wife to the doctor's appointment. We'll get on next week. But good win during the weekend. It's actually a bit of a shame, Jerome. Well, actually, it's not. First of all, your wife's health comes before anything. So fair play to you on that one. But I was actually looking forward to hearing from the likes of you and Eugene today, as well as me and that, because, you haven't really been Frank's biggest fan. I just wanted to know, maybe would that performance and that style, and if Frank employed that more going into games, would that maybe swing you around? But I suppose we'll get your opinion next week. We do have a game against Slavia Prague and a game against Forest, so if you can put in the same way, I can get your appearance next. I can get your thoughts on the appearance next week. But big up, Jerome. Jerome here.
Very, very generous, Jerome. Thanks for still tuning in, while you're still taking care of the misses. But I think we've done our best by getting someone who I think has similar opinions to you and Eddie. Eddie, thankfully, has stepped up for you probably on your behalf. And I know Eddie maybe comes from a similar boat of Thomas Frank, but Eddie, I think, has been very fair, tonight about the performance and going forward. And I saw this comment from earlier from someone.
Great to have Eddie back, actually.
It is great. I saw this comment earlier from someone. As much as I'm definitely on a high from the last game, I think, it's still about replicating this performance pretty much for the next two games, really. Like, I think we need to see a very similar performance against Slavia Prague tomorrow night. And then we need to see a version of it as well against Nottingham Forest. Because like I said before, I think those are very good teams and oppositions where they're not no mugs. But at the same time, like what we saw against Brentford can be repeated against teams like that, of that sort of quality. It's not like we're coming up against Chelsea or coming up against PSG or something like that the next week, where you do have to think about maybe changing it up a little bit stylistically, personnel wise, formation, all those types of things. I'm pretty sure you can go with almost the exact same lineup against Slavia Prague, or at least against Forest, but at least still the same principles of how you played against Brentford should, in my opinion, no questions asked, be repeated in these next two games. So that's what I'm excited about. Hopefully we just get to see the same football for two more games now, which is we haven't been able to say all season, really. It's just been very chop and changed, and also just the style of play and the nature of the performances have been all over the place, this season. So
I mean, it's not just Vuskovic out loan that's doing something great. Mikey Moore at Rangers, my God. At first I thought going to Scotland, why you could go somewhere where the league's a bit more, I'll teach you to be a man a bit more. But he's really stepped it up, Mikey Moore at Rangers. He really has. And I'm impressed with him as well as Vuskovic. I'm like, wow, okay. Things are looking promising for Mikey as well.
It's almost like what I said, that they need man minutes in their legs. Did I not say this weeks ago? I said it's good for them, man, to go and get proper minutes. They can't just keep coming in on 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. That doesn't develop them.
I get that, but when I question where you could go to Belgium, Germany, France, a league within the top 10
but it's not
leagues
up to,
as well.
But the thing is, it's not up. The thing is, the club and the player has to agree. You can't just force a person to, so that's the thing. He wanted to go. He obviously was happy to go to Scotland for a reason. So
just on the loan players. Look, I think it's fair to say last season and this season, a lot of our loan players have gone out and performed. It's just whether the manager and the club have the bollocks to stand by some of these guys and integrate them and really give them a proper opportunity. I think it's, been well documented that the talent's been there. Look, me and Jack tried our best to highlight it there a couple of years ago, that the talent is there. It's just, are we going to bring it through? Are we not? And I would suggest we have problems with homegrown sort of, players going into Europe. I think it would be a good idea for us to bring through at least a couple anyway. But just quickly on what Jack was saying as well. Look, for me, I agree with Jack. I don't want this to be a once-off. He's shown earlier on in the season he can play this way. It brings about results. It appeases the Spurs fans. And I think Frank needs to now meet us, sort of with this and use this kicking on. It can't just be against Brentford to make a statement and then revert to type, because if it does, then you're looking at them all of a sudden and going, well, you just done that for your own ego, and stuff like that. So for me, I think it's actually very important he doubles down and does it against Slavia and also against Forest, at the weekend. And then I think going in against Liverpool, Spurs fans will tolerate a bit of a different game plan. But what we won't tolerate is respecting Slavia Prague, glazing them, telling them how great they are. The same with Nottingham Forest, and then also approach the Liverpool game that way. I'm not tolerating that. For me, if we want to win games, this is the blueprint. I don't want to see you fucking revert to type. Just get it out there for the next few games. Let's see what we can do.
Thankfully, he didn't
we're going back to some of the young players as well. We got that young Williams Barnett in the under 21s as well. He's impressive. I've been watching some of the under 21 games, man. That kid can step up. I think he's got a bright future with us. And then we've just recently lost Frankie Day in the youth team to West Ham, which is a shame because he's a very good young striker. But to lose him to West Ham is kind of a sore point for me.
Lazy 8 saying, didn't we sign some Japanese guy? I wonder if Kota Takai even exists. Sometimes Lazy 8, it's one of those where he's a bit like Solanke, where you're starting to just really question just the nature of the injury, because Kota Takai's I don't think was made out to be nearly as serious as Solanke's. But then also, he's never even gotten on the bench, I think, like at any point. I think
I want to know how he passed the medical.
It's like Schrodinger's box, isn't it? He's in there as long as we know that he might be in there. He might not be in there, but you can't say definitively if he is in there or not.
But the thing is,
Schrodinger's Takai.
But when we signed the guy, like no one really thought we were really going to see him this year. Surely, like as soon as we signed him, I knew it would be more like the Yang signing, where we bring him in. He's like we say that stepping up from the Bundesliga for Xavi is difficult. Well, imagine the step up that Yang and fucking Takai then have to make. Coming over from a complete different style of football, complete different physicality, and from over the other side of the world, different conditions, humidity, etc., etc., etc. They have an even bigger step up. We were never ever going to see Takai ever play this half of the season.
It makes me it's like with Takai. If any of you like wrestling, like you're going to say his name, he's going to appear in. It's like Joe Hendry, just like Takai. You're going to say his name, he's going to show up.
No, Takai will probably go on loan this coming January. We won't see him the whole season, and we probably won't see him next season either.
I think
he'll probably go to QPR and join Yang.
We'll take this from Jerome.
Saying, trust boys, if we have the same performance against Slavia Prague, Forest, and Liverpool, then Frank will start to get on my good books. That's all I'm asking for. That's what I'm looking forward to about it, Jerome. I think I'm in the same boat here where, great, like I have absolutely nothing but praise for that Brentford performance. At the end of the day, you need to find a way to repeat similar performances for, I think, everyone to start getting on side. And also just for these players, for the fan base, for even the manager as well, to feel like that they can, start to develop some confidence. Because I hate to use this pun, but let's be frank, for 10 or so games, like I think Spurs had won like 1 or 2 games in the last 10. Dade had some stat about it. Like
3 in our last 14.
It was not good. Like going into this, like it was not good form. People after the game were like, see, this is why you can never doubt him, type of thing. It's like, come on, like he was definitely going into that game with some pressure, under him. So he answered it.
Definitely.
Let's see if he can follow it up with another one against Slavia Prague, and if he does it against Forest, all of a sudden, I think then he buys himself even more time, less pressure on him. It's just how the game works. It's just how the sport works. So I think you're being very fair about it, Jerome. And that's what's on my mind as well, is can it be repeated against Slavia Prague? I really hope so. And then even more so against Forest.
Well, he's also under pressure going into tomorrow's game. 1 win in their last 4 in the Champions League. It doesn't make for good reading either. So, You know, not the start of the season, when the fixtures came out and the way they were aligned, you were looking at it and fancy the top 8 exit. And tomorrow's absolutely crucial in that. If not, then the best we can hope for is a playoff round, which goes back to the Bodo Glimt game, where I refuse to praise us for our resilience, because now we're in a situation where them 2 points would make a massive different reading, you know, in terms of, so, you know, the pressure is on to go and deliver another performance similar to the Brentford tomorrow. I don't want him seeing B scared. If he's scared tomorrow and we end up dropping points,
Yeah.
then he's just not the right guy. Because if you're going into Europe and you're playing the weakest of teams, by the way, Slavia Prague ain't good. They can barely score a goal, haven't won a game in this
terrible.
group. You know, they're not good whatsoever. If we make them look anyway competent, I can't go into Europe, keep approaching games like this. So tomorrow it's got to be another competent performance. To what Jack says, big up Jerome. And then Ellie has also sent in a super sticker.
An ice cream cone has a super sticker.
Oh,
Big up Ellie. She's got the ice cream on her mind.
Do you know what I actually do have? I have a block of vanilla with some wafers. I might have one of them after my dinner.
Probably over
Vanilla,
time as well.
I'm
I've gotten more old man
disappointed.
flavors. I've gotten
I'll
into
go
the
wait
old
till
man
midnight to
flavors
be
more,
paid.
Ellie. I enjoy kind of like a vanilla. I enjoy something that maybe has like a chocolate, maybe flake in it, or like a almond or something like that. You know, I'm not as much in with Ben
Mint
and Jerry's. Sometimes the flavors go a little too crazy for me. I will
Someone,
admit.
you lot are gonna be disgusted with this, but the other week I tried chocolate chili ice cream and it was absolutely fantastic. I was like that. I was in love with it. And
think
then
I could get a
also
taste of it.
one of my friends brought back to mine the other week. He brought back some cherry. It was like cherry Coke ice cream that he made at home. That was pretty nice.
That does sound actually not bad. Those are things I would have a taste of, but I don't know if I could really have a pint of. Really, I'd probably only have a few bites and then move on. Really, which
Yeah,
is probably
see,
maybe why I should go towards those, because then I wouldn't eat as much ice cream. To be
see,
fair,
I actually quite like the mix because I dip my McDonald's chips in my milkshake because I quite like the
Good
salty
girl.
and the
Yeah, I've
sweet
done that
together.
before.
Right? Like I quite like the mix of something hot and like cold, like obviously the ice cream with chili. I think that actually sounds quite munch. I'm not going to lie.
It's nice. I mean, it's only come out a few weeks ago at Asda down the road for me, and I was like, yeah, grabbing that. Now I can't wait to get paid because I know Asda's open 24 over Christmas. I'll be getting paid and going straight down to Asda for another tub of it. I
There you
sound
go.
fat, but I want it. I'm craving it.
There you go, Ellie. Spark
Ellie
the
comes in
chat.
and says, you could twist that stat, Dave, and only say 1 defeat in the last 4 Champions League. You can, but when you run it alongside being dumped out of the Carabao Cup and only 3 wins in our last 14 before Brentford, you know, that's where I say, you know, was a team on the slide. That Brentford game hopefully puts a halt to that. But, you know, as well, that draw against Bodo Glimt, it's not a good draw, really, is it? Let's be brutally honest. You know, we destroyed them
not a
last
good
year.
draw, no. But
No,
I mean,
so-
you said we destroyed them last night. This is what gets me the argument with Bodo. Now, they have gone out and recruited some pretty good players in and around the Nordic teams and Nordic areas. They've gone and scouted a little bit in Brazil and brought in some very good loan players. They've really bolstered the strength of their squad up compared to what we played them last year. But this year, we should have still beaten them. But they've still gone out and improved their squad throughout compared to what they were last year when we completely cakewalked them.
No, I get that, but team of Tottenham stature, Premier League should be beaten in every game, really.
Yeah, I get you that, but the Swedish league isn't exactly strong, is it?
That's why
No,
I
even.
praised the resilience that night. It was just nonsense. Anyway, look, we're coming to just around the end, so I'm sure we'll dig out one more question before we end off. Why don't we talk about Basuma's latest antics, maybe? Anyone want to talk about him, you know, club under investigation again by the club for you know, a video of him again circulating you know, on helium balloons. I mean, what does the club do here at this point, guys?
Get rid of him.
Yeah.
Get rid of him.
What?
Because the
Get rid
thing
of
is,
him.
What?
you can't have somebody around the club like that, Dave. At the end of the day, the first time was enough for me. I think it's terrible because he is somebody that young children look up to as well. And they're going to see that he obviously doesn't take his job very seriously and he just thinks it's okay to go and do balloons when obviously that's actually illegal. Then if you get caught doing that, you can actually get done for it if one of you or me or whatever done it. So why is he doing it? And why is he so idiotic to record himself a second time? Like, what brain cells are in that boy's head? Now, I'm not saying that I want him to do it, but to record yourself doing the crime,
That's a
like,
fair
what
point.
idiocy is this? What are we doing? Like,
Right,
oh my
lots
I'm going
God.
to say something on this though. This hurts me for Basuma because I'm a lad from Brighton, and I've seen the good in Basuma. I didn't really know who he was when he first joined Brighton, but I saw him pay for a young woman shopping that she couldn't afford it in the supermarket in Asda about 5 years ago. I can see the good in Basuma, but now he's gone and done this twice. First time I can kind of go, pressures of being a famous footballer, maybe got peer pressured into it. Now he's sucking on balloons again. He can float away with them. I used to be Basuma's biggest advocate and stick up for him because I've seen the good in him and I've seen how good he can be on the pitch. And now he's just throwing his career and his talents away. And it hurts because I've seen the good in that guy, and now he's just completely throwing it in everyone's face that believes in him.
Where does he rank maybe in terms of, because now at this point he probably looks as maybe one of the worst signings we've had, with how it's kind of gone for him. But not like we forked
I don't
out
know,
too
Darren
much money
Bent?
for the guy. So I just wonder, like, where does he rank in the Ndombele's or Lo Celso's of signings? At Spurs, is he
He's
not as bad as that? Worse than that?
He's
It's
above
not
them
as-
Dombele.
Yeah, not
Uh,
Ndombele
he-
I
levels.
think we'll have to strike a similar sort of exit deal.
Yeah.
Around those.
he's not. It's not as bad as those guys because they did nothing. And Basuma actually contributed to us winning a trophy.
That's
So
true.
he's not as bad. He's stupid. He's idiotic, but he's not that
He
level
did
as
turn up for those last
bad.
few games. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Compared to
Yeah,
Lo
doesn't
But
that
if
Celso.
this was-
make it?
I know this
But doesn't
sounds
that
really
make
bad
it
to say.
worse? So
It
doesn't
does
that
make it
make it
worse, but-
worse though? Because at the end of the day, he's not actually a bad footballer when he wants to put in the effort, but yet he goes and does stupid, idiotic things like that and gets caught on camera twice. Like, come on, man! What kind of person are you to, like, that's your job and you're not taking it seriously enough? You're not turning up on time. This is the second time we've done balloons. You're just a joke at this point, not really a footballer. Like, you should be taking it flipping more seriously, that's your job, and you shouldn't be coming in late and then going off and going, I'll just go and do balloons again and get caught on film doing it as well.
No,
I
I
love
do
your
agree.
point, Mia. Like,
It's
I love your point.
infuriating.
Like, what's more stupid, doing the balloons or getting caught on camera? Doing it a second time. That's a pretty
It
funny
was-
point. Like, getting caught
it
on
was-
That's that
camera
old
a second
saying.
time is hilarious.
That's that old saying that fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. This is the second. You can't keep them around. But then if this was like 30, 40 years ago in the 80s and 90s, no one would bat an eyelid because you had Tony Adams turning up on cocaine and all the players back then were on something, playing football, and nothing was said. But now because it's become more professionalized and these players are more looked at because everything's media scrutiny, you can't get away from it. 30 years ago, football wasn't on the internet, really, was it? So these players could get away with kind of things like that and fake a drug test by getting someone else to pee in their cup. But you're getting caught doing the crime, get out the club. I don't want players associated like that with the team.
I think when it comes to Basuma, look, part of me maybe looks at it, worries, is it a cry for help? Is he dealing with something? Then another part of me looks at it and goes, there was a rumor that Spurs were going to take up the option to extend his contract by a year to try and get money for him. I wonder also how much of him going, well, that would be silly because the Spurs fans would be outraged. Get me out of here in January. The fact that he was recently pictured wearing the Galatasaray jersey, I think it clearly stinks of a player that's unhappy and is trying to force a move out of the football club. He's been ousted, from the team and from the plans altogether. And I just think, sadly, it's come to an end. I think, again, it's another repeat scenario of the Ndombele situation, a player that we buy with so much potential, so much hope. They get to London and they can't keep themselves fit and the lifestyle takes hold of them and they lose the run themselves and you never really see that ability. And I think it's a shame, really, because I think if Basuma actually concentrated on football, I think he could be a fantastic player. I think there's the ability there, again, like on Dembele, to be able to be one of the world's best midfielders. But also, I think, it's something that the Spurs people inside the club could maybe use an example to younger players. Ability is only one half of the battle. You've also got to live the right lifestyle and everything else that comes with it if you want to be able to maximize that ability and stuff. And I just think it's a shame, really. But at the end of the day, when you're trying to breed a winning culture, a professional environment, everyone's pulling in the right way, everyone's doing the right things to win. it doesn't send out a good precedent. And I think it'd be good for Spurs to end this as quickly as possible. I think, this madness of trying to extend his contract and take that extension by an extra year to get money. I'm not being funny, but if you're any other club, you're not going to gamble on a guy, especially when managers' tenures are so short now. You're not going to gamble on bringing in a guy like Basuma. It's a huge gamble for him then to disrupt the dressing room, try and bring other people along with him, like Ndombele done at Tottenham, because we never got rid of the problem. We started developing cliques and stuff like that, and it just leads to a horrible dressing room environment and stuff like that. So for me, I just think, unfortunately, of course you want to try and help the guy. You want to try and say, look, what is it? Let's try and deal with it. But we've got to get him out of here. If you're trying to set a culture that Frank's trying to set, you got to get him gone at all costs.
It's reminded me of other players we've had before in the past that have had loads of potential and talent and have wasted it. Darren Brent we brought in, talent and wasted it, retired early. We've had a precedence of players that have had talent and retired early at this club. But Basuma, like you said, I feel there's a cry for help, but at the same time, you're in the public eye, dude. Kids look up to you, and you're not even getting called up to your national team because of this, because of kids in your country look up to you, kids over here look up to you, your fans are getting at the bit. They'd give their right leg to play for Tottenham, step up, be a man, own it, say, right, I've got to put this to bed, I've got to nail football down, but he's just completely let it go. And like I said, being a guy from Brighton has watched this guy, even though I'm not a Brighton fan, I've been invited to go to football matches for nothing, so I've got to watch the best of him. And that season that everyone was telling that he's the best midfielder outside the top six.
Is there a part of it to say, like, don't get me wrong, I know what Brighton can be a bit of a party town, it's a college sort of place, but there's probably a lot less distractions than maybe London, to be fair. There
are a few things down here he can do, but it's not as much as London.
Yeah, and I just wonder now, is that something that Tottenham need to factor in when they're signing these guys, that if there is already a bit of a party boy narrative around them in a place where there's a lot less distractions, does that mean we should avoid that at all costs then? Because, you hear Brighton fans, they got nothing but good things to say about them. Spurs fans wanted them back based off the sort of Brighton form. But, you know what?
There are Brighton fans that... There are Brighton fans that will just say nothing but good things, and there's Brighton fans down there also that no truths in and outside of him. Like, there were questionable things as we went in for the transfer for him, like with the whole court thing, blah blah blah. He had a bit of a reputation being a bit of a prankster and a party boy in the club. I think Brighton wanted to keep him, but we're looking like, right, we can make some money on him, and he doesn't want to sign. Right, we need to get rid of him now before we lose value on him. And now he's come to us and he's really thrown it against the wall and really ruined his career.
Anybody up for a GoFundMe for a hot air balloon for him to go?
Yeah. He would go down with the ship in that case. Big up to Ellie. She's thrown in another super sticker. Really appreciate your support, Ellie. Hopefully you've been enjoying the conversation. Would love to get you back on one of these fan shows, Ellie. Would be great to have you on alongside me and the rest of us, just to have some, it's good to have different opinions. We have Corey on today. We've had Eddie back, of course, even though we talked to Eddie a lot. It's good to hear from him. So be curious to have you back on with us, Ellie. And the drum was followed up by saying Basuma is just a disgrace. This is ridiculous, and got caught on camera again for a second time. Terminate his contract, simple. I did kind of laugh at the fact that just a couple of weeks ago, Dave Wright did mention that Spurs were considering giving him a contract extension. The guy's, honestly, I hate to say, really is just so dumb that, like, he could have gotten a whole contract extension just to get himself even more money and sort of just, I don't know, wane away, I guess, to be fair. But the fact that he's now done this, I don't even think Spurs are going to consider giving him a new contract. They might as well just
reinvested it and got more balloons, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, really.
Pay him in balloons, he might actually do something.
Smart, actually. If he were smart, he would just keep his head down and get that new contract, even though he didn't deserve it. And it's just amazing, really. I also am laughing at what Mia has said, Jerome, where I think, of course, doing the balloons is a terrible thing. But the fact that he's gotten caught doing it again is also just insanity, really, to me. You would think if that you're going to continue down that path, make sure you're not getting caught, really. That's just the great. I'm really laughing. I think that part is more stupid, is the fact that
any more balloons, man. Any more balloons, rather than calling bloody Pennywise.
Yeah. I worry
got
for
that picture of that now.
I worry for him though, and just like a human level, and like what Dave said, there
Yeah.
might be something going wrong there. Like maybe he really has lost the love of the game, or he might actually have some mental health issues. So he's distracting himself and, sort of covering it up by doing this type of activity or partying and things like that. But I also just worry because, a lot of times you do see footballers, they live this lavish lifestyle, but then all of a sudden that paycheck fades away. And then if you've gotten too addicted or too attached to that lifestyle, I just worry for the guy, like, because he does seem like someone who kind of
Joe,
likes to spend the paycheck maybe a bit more than
a
other
lot.
players do.
As well, Jack, it's like quite a lonely life, I think, because you don't know who to trust. And if you get in with the wrong people and the wrong
Yeah.
crowd and they're just there for the party and the good times, they're not actually there for you emotionally, there to support you
Well said.
properly. Like that's what footballers need, family and friends who actually genuinely care about them, not just what they can get from them. And that's the problem with a lot of footballers. And then when they go home at night, they're lonely, aren't they? They've only got themselves and their bed and their pillow to put their head down on, and they've got nothing around them. And that's why a lot of, I think, footballers replace that with like a party lifestyle to sort of that emptiness, because it feels empty, their lives, in a way, because all they've got is the football so much and they haven't got anyone else. Then that
They've got
makes
no
them
to share
feel,
it with, really. Everyone else
yeah,
around
like,
to take.
yeah, even if they've got a family, like a girlfriend and maybe I don't know if he's got kids or girlfriend or whatever, but it's just having that support network to emotionally be there for you when you feel like you're getting stressed or you're upset about something, or if something's bothering you. That's so important with footballers, and we don't think
Yeah.
of that enough, probably.
Yeah, I think Lazy Eights even brought up a good comment by saying it's probably generous to even say he's gotten caught. He actually filmed himself doing it, because I think he was sending it to someone to
Mm.
join them, I think, on whatever bender they were having over the weekend. So, and also the fact that
Well,
he is supposed to be injured, like, as well. He's supposed to be injured, like he's supposed to be,
yeah,
recovering. I
he's
think it is a
injured.
cry for help.
He's injured up in his head. If you thinking filming
Yeah,
yourself is clever when you're doing balloons for the second time, you absolute dingbat.
yeah.
Honestly.
Right before the AFCON too. Also insanity, really, considering
Like
he's
I said,
probably
his
one of their
country
best
haven't
players.
called him up. Yeah, his country haven't called him up since the first time he done it, really, have they? So even his country are distancing themselves from their best player. So it's a shame to
Yeah.
see, like, this guy he's 26 going on 27 now, isn't he, Biss? It just feels like he's thrown his career away. And like we've seen players do this before. They'll have all the talent, apply it on the pitch for a few years, and you see them just dwindle away. Like the Darren Bents. There's so many players that have just fizzled out into nothingness when they've had all the talent, and you've just wondered where their career could have been.
I would argue, as well, just lastly, I don't think that's a football-wide problem. I think there's plenty of examples across other sports of people getting paid handsomely and, losing their hunger and desire, that sort of generational wealth is taken care of, and you don't have that thing that you once strived for, I suppose, so. But look, I think we'll call it an evening there. I've enjoyed it today. It's been good. It's been great to have Eddie back. So Eddie, hopefully, we get you back again in the future. It's been great to, have a conversation with you as well, Corey, and of course Mia here every single fan show. So really appreciate that. Great to speak to you as well today, Mia. And hopefully we'll have Eddie back on in the future. I know Jerome said he'd be back next week and stuff like that. And Rhino, if you're still listening, make sure you get some sleep and take care of yourself, buddy. But guys, big match day tomorrow. Champions League football back on the lights in the best stadium in world football. Of course, we'll have all the match day covered here. Make sure you get here for the live show at 5 o'clock for the pre-match build-up, and then we'll take you into the watch-along. Have a good evening, everybody. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Enjoy your evenings.
Come on,
Everybody.
you
See you all
Spurs.
tomorrow. Champions League nights.
Yeah.
Big up, Paddy Arnott. Good to see you, sir.